welcome to Hell in a Cell, a podcast where myself and Mariya, that's you, Mariya.
I know, I thought you didn't want me to interrupt you when you're doing your intros.
You can say hi.
I guess. Hi.
There you go. We are two art nerds.
Yes, that sounds about right.
I guess you're an art nerd. I'm an animation nerd.
I'm a comms nerd. How about that?
You're trying to brand yourself as this comms person.
I am. It is my identity now. I'm going to be spending another 2 years studying it, James.
But
I am a media person now.
But you're so much more than that. But whatever.
Yes.
Whatever. It's fine.
I like art too, yes.
And I'm just a bum.
I mean, now you're boxing yourself in, James.
I guess so. Yes, this is Hell in a Cell. We would talk about an episode, or episodes in this case, of a cartoon. Animes, cartoons, get over it. Today we watched Land of the Lustrous.
Yes.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
Season 1, episode 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Phosphophyllite and Diamond. Original air dates October 7th and 14th, 2017. Both of them directed by Takahiko Kyogoku. Director of Photography, Kenji Fujita. Chief Director of CG, Eiji Inomoto. Edited by Daisuke Imai. And produced by Studio Orange.
We should have gotten Riley to say all those names, James.
We probably should have. But screw him.
Anyway.
He would have insisted on calling it by the Japanese name.
Maybe. I'm not getting involved in that.
People have no idea what we're talking about. We should stop.
Yes.
All right, Mariya, give us a summary of what happened in these two episodes.
Oh God, yes. I forget that that's my job.
You've only done it like, how many times is this? Like 14?
8, 9, 10 times.
That's not true.
That is true. That is true.
Are you sure?
Yes. This is like the 12th time, I think.
Okay.
Or the 11th time. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Give us the summary.
Okay, so we start off with in this world which looks like Earth, but it's not actually Earth, as we find out in a couple of seconds, because there are two people with shiny hair, with like super shiny hair, which was like, oh, pretty hair. Anyway, and then they start. They're looking for another girl who turns out to be Phos. Her name's Phos. It's just Phos, right? Or is her name Phosphophyllite? And then
yeah, her name is Phosphophyllite, but everybody just calls her Phos.
I wonder why. So yes, they're looking for Phosphophyllite, shortened as Phos. Who is another sort of shiny person who we find out later on are like gemstone people that inhabit this planet and fight lunar bad guys.
The
Lunarians, yes. And like all of these stones have different all of these gemstone people have like different hardness and are like strong or brittle or whatever, and Phos is the weakest, so she doesn't have a job because she's the weakest, and if anything happens, she breaks. Literally. And so these two, I forget their names, James. Was it Jade and someone?
No, that was Beryl and Ghost, I believe.
Yeah, we only saw them in this episode, and then the next episode there were a couple other girls, so they keep changing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it was a pink-haired one and a silver-haired one, and they fought off this. They're trying to fight this lunar attack thing that's coming in, and Foss goes back to their headquarters to get their sensei, to talk to their sensei, and then the sensei comes to help them out because the attack was too big for them to deal with by themselves. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and we find like the other two, the pink-haired and the silver-haired, also like broken into pieces, and they have to take them back and like fix them and fit their bodies together. And apparently one of these other gemstone people had already been taken, and they were using the this is so weird. They're using the moon bad guys were using the stone people, the person that they stole. They broke them into pieces and were using them as arrowheads to shoot at their own people. This is so weird. It's kind of like slapping James with an amputated human hand. Is what it was like.
Doesn't that happen?
Kind of graphic
in these episodes.
Probably. I mean, she was okay. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Anyway, so the sensei gives Foss the job of like someone who writes an encyclopedia, so essentially a scribe. And Foss hates that job because she doesn't want to do it and she wants to fight. But if anything like hits her, she just breaks consistently. And apparently she's also clumsy, so that doesn't help either. And so she goes around talking to these other gemstone people to try and find out something new or discover something new to write about in the encyclopedia. And they tell her to go talk to Cinnabar, who is the embodiment of edgy teen, because she is a pain to be around. This is, I'm quoting. And so she goes by herself, and she essentially, whatever her powers are poisonous to everything that lives. Period. And so she just goes out by herself and stays by herself. But because she spends so much time by herself, apparently she's supposed to know a lot of stuff. And so Foss decides to go talk to her to get information. And so she goes to talk to her, and then they get attacked by lunar people again. And Foss finds out that Cinnabar doesn't want to fight, and she doesn't like her job, but that's the only thing that she can do, because otherwise everything else around her dies. And that's basically, and in a nutshell, yeah, that's the first episode. Foss wants to figure out a way to get Cinnabar a different job, essentially. And the second episode, Diamond, where did that episode start? I forget. It all melds together. Yes, we start with Foss whining about the job that she has, and also racking her brain as to what to write about. And so one of the other gemstone people, whose name is Jade, sends Foss to go talk to Diamond, who is, as her namesake, a diamond. Because apparently Diamond is trying to figure out some new fighting style. And we have this, and so she goes to talk to Diamond, and she has this weird conversation with Diamond, which was very confusing to understand. But Diamond is sort of this very sweet little girl, but she also has the hardness of diamond, which according to their scale is 10, which is the hardest. And so they get attacked by moon people again. For some reason, every time Foss is around, they get attacked. And Diamond is trying to fight off this lunar attack. But she's not doing so well. And apparently she is supposed to be with a partner whose name is Bort. And suddenly out of nowhere, Bort shows up, and Bort is the Uber edgelord. Essentially with long black hair, and she sort of slices and dices them with like not even like a little bit of resistance. Like she just rips them a new one. And apparently, so we find out that even though like the diamond is supposed to be the hardest, the way that Bort is structured chemically makes her more resistant to breaking from like different angles, apparently. So she doesn't have a weak angle. That also makes her the best, and that also means that everyone hates her. And she does not make it hard for people to hate her. Let's just say that. And so we find out that Diamond also has kind of like this inferiority complex thing going on because of Bort. And then they see another lunar attack, but they don't attack them. It goes straight to their headquarters, and they follow that battalion. I don't know what they are. And they drop a snail shell onto the headquarters before Bort slices and dices them, and they disappear. And then suddenly this snail shell, we find out, is alive, and it eats up Foss. And that's where we end that episode. Oh, and they find out that their composition like melts because of the snail. So like if they try to attack the snail, their swords and stuff start melting, and their bodies start chipping.
Yeah.
This is a weird one.
Well, it was weird even for me.
That's saying something.
Well, no, I mean, I'm saying that it's because I've read the manga that it's based on.
I know.
So I should know what the hell's going on. And even I was like, what the hell is going on?
That's fair.
So, what went wrong?
Let's talk about... So, I mean, you've read the manga, so you have at least something to compare to.
Yeah.
For me, like, it started off great. Like, I loved like the first scene that they had with the pink-haired one and the silver-haired one, like fighting off these, the lunar spot, and the Lunarians, and like the whole them entering, and that whole scene was great.
Yeah, it was cool.
The art style was great. And the Lunarians, they're very reminiscent of like Hindu myth, in their like design, like the headdress design, and like the bows and arrows, and just the design of the Lunarians is very reminiscent of like Hindu myth, and that was amazing. And it all looked very like pretty, and like and satisfying to look at. But then as that episode was not bad. The first episode had me hooked. It was a good first episode because I wanted to watch a second one to see what happened or see what was going on. Even though some of like the character interactions were very clunky almost, or like,
A lot of
or
people
robotic.
shitting on Foss.
Yeah, it was just a lot of people, you know, being being just very fed up with her, which you don't need that many characters to be doing that for the audience to understand that yes, she is in most people's eyes incompetent.
No, I guess it was more of telling, don't showing.
Exactly. I mean, but they did do the showing part. Like she does break, but there are definitely better ways. Again, there was a lot more telling. You're right. Than like actually showing that she's brittle and fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's what it was like. It was just shoved down into our throats immediately. The moment the episode started, we were like, oh, the main character is incompetent and can't do shit, apparently, or as we are told.
Yeah, it was very rushed.
Yeah, it was very. The pacing is really weird because they spend a lot of time on her being like broken, or her like, or her lamenting about the job that she got,
Right.
rather. But when there's like actual character interactions, it's so rushed, and the dialogue is very unnatural, you know?
I think it might be because the manga is is kind of silent a lot of the times.
Uh-huh.
It's more of the
Uh-huh.
showing the art, letting the character expressions tell more of the
Mm-hmm.
story. There's
Right.
not a lot. It's really easy to get through because there's not a lot of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So
So it's a lot more like art based. The story is definitely very picture based.
yes, I mean there's character interactions and they're well done,
Yeah.
but it's definitely more of it's showing the skills of the artist
Mm-hmm.
who's doing it. The author would rather show something with a picture than with the dialogue
Right. Right.
exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying either one is better, but
Right. Right. So that was the artist's style essentially, was to show it in the form of a picture than to have a character interaction, have like a character dialogue interaction. Which
right.
I guess because when they're making anime, they're converting it to an anime.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel like wherever there is no guideline for a production team to work on, the whatever part that they have to work on independently seems very detached or clunky from the whole work.
Right. And I think that's where this kind of fell through, is that they felt like they had to add in stuff
Right.
to either, well, they had to because the pacing of the manga is very like a chapters are pretty short in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually
Mm-hmm.
just one thing happens, especially in the first part of the series. It's a lot of short adventures that happen
Right.
in a short chapter. Foss will be doing something, interact with a new gem, Lunarians come out or they don't.
Right.
Either comedy or action.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this, they're condensing all of that into a very
Right.
short span of time.
Right. I mean, I feel like they could have, in the first episode, spent more time giving us more interaction with, like, Foss and Cinnabar, rather than trying to rush that.
Right. And I believe it's been a while since I read the first volume of the manga. I think there's a lot more of Foss interacting with Cinnabar and annoying her, and then Cinnabar saying like expressing like how she feels like an outsider.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it just, like I said, it felt very rushed. Like they could have had a lot more of the episode with them actually interacting rather than us seeing like snippets of Cinnabar every now and again and it being like
Yeah.
all edgy and like,
Not to spoil anything, but Cinnabar is not a very important aspect of the story for all the gravitas they gave her.
exactly. It's like and it's like there's not much that happens between both those characters for Foss to just be like, okay, this is my mission for life now. I will spend my entire life trying to figure out how to get Cinnabar a new job. Like there wasn't any there wasn't any solid base for that emotion and passion.
No, there's no like connection there. Whereas in the
Yeah, it's
manga,
not
it felt much more genuine.
right.
Because Cinnabar is a sad character, and I think Foss didn't relate to that, but like she wanted to help her.
Yeah,
Whereas
which
in
is
the, yeah,
which you can kind of see that she wants to do that, but just the way that the dialogues were written or conducted did not make it seem like Foss was a genuine, character.
no,
Like for the whole time, she, rather than feeling like sympathy or showing any kind of, I mean, pity even, her character was just seemed slightly inconvenienced with the fact that she has to go out at night to talk to this person,
right?
rather than being like, oh, that's so sad, she can't talk to anyone, she can't, like, everything she touches, gets destroyed, etc., etc. She was like, oh great, I have to go talk to her at night, that's super dangerous, how inconvenient for me, someone who has no other job except to write this encyclopedia. It's as if that my job is to actually go out and do stuff and write things. What a foreign concept.
Let's get to the second episode.
The second episode was a complete disaster in terms of pacing.
It was a mess.
It was such a mess. Yeah. I don't even know.
Anime has had a reputation of having bad pacing in the past. Mm-hmm. I think they've mostly shedded that reputation in recent years. And this episode just completely reminded me why it had that reputation. Because this was just a goddamn cluster.
It was a real fustercluck, James. It was a real. It just, everything was so fast and I don't know. It was just,
it's literally condensing so much stuff.
Yeah, it was just skipping from one incident to the other, like one after the other. Like you don't get to wait, and the section about Diamond trying to explain to Foss why
drive-by character development there.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, like for us, you at least give us a second or just give us a moment where Diamond is like, there's no reason for us to. Again, there was a lot more telling than they were showing of the fact that Diamond is hard and like strong because she does nothing in that fight scene.
All you had to do was say, I may be a diamond, but board is harder than I am.
That's phrasing, James.
Shut up.
But yeah, like, I mean, it was a lot of beating around the bush for something that they did not have time to beat around the bush for. A
lot of beating around the bush, and then character interactions that made no sense because we have very little context.
Exactly.
For what they're talking about.
I mean,
and I think it goes to them I don't know how to say misinterpreting, but maybe misinterpreting the manga silent
Yeah.
storytelling.
Uh-huh. I mean, the conversation that Diamond um and Foss had, like, I don't know why Foss got pissed off at Diamond. I
No,
don't know why Diamond tried to console her. I don't know
no,
why Diamond picked her up.
no.
I'm telling you, James, it felt like a fanfic.
It
Like, it felt like someone wrote a fanfic is what happened there.
kinda.
Because
I really don't know what they were doing there.
it was just, it was not, it was not, it was just so clunky and so fast. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel for Diamond, but then
Kinda, but
Diamond doesn't get a chance to show us that. And
no.
then we don't even, I don't even really understand what happened. What was her fighting style different from?
I don't know either.
What was that fighting style? Why did her hand break? What happened?
I don't know. I didn't remember any of this from the manga, honestly.
Why is Bort so
Bort's,
unlikable?
I mean, in the manga, she's not. She's just kind of abrasive and like stoic.
I mean, that's fine. This was not stoic.
No.
There's stoic is like
Yeah, she's
radiating
kind of an
no
asshole in
emotion.
this one.
In this one, she's just a block of ice, is what she is.
Yeah, no. In the manga, it's pretty. She's not. I don't know. This is just a complete miss on so many levels.
You want to talk about your disappointment, James?
Not really.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I was excited to watch this because I had heard it was really good, and I'm a big fan of the manga, like I said, and get to see some of these cool fight scenes, and the characters look really good, except for certain aspects, but we'll get to that.
Yes. I mean, I thought that it was really pretty to look at when we started off. It still is. Like, I like all of the...
I have some praise and I have some criticisms.
Okay, let's get down to it then.
Oh, okay. We'll go into the animation.
Yes.
All right.
We're
So,
already here. Might as well take a look around.
this is what everybody's heralding as the golden goose, the thing that will save anime, because they finally made CG look good. CG characters look good, and you know what? They do look good.
They do. No, they were
yeah.
really pretty
Yeah.
to look at.
The character designers, yeah, you 90% knocked it out of the park, but we'll talk about that.
Uh-huh.
The background designers, the CG work is all pretty top notch.
Right.
Pretty good. A little too fluid for a streaming service. It's a little too nice to look at certain points.
Uh-huh. I like that scene with Cinnabar when she like throws like the whatever her.
The one that's on our screens right now.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. That was
Yes.
pretty to look at. That was very nicely done.
That was good, taking a pretty detailed piece of the manga and then making it not look exactly like it is in the manga, but making it look good in what you have.
Right. I mean, obviously, we've also talked about this before, but, it's a different medium, so you get that kind of creative liberty to work with, because manga is black and white, so now you have to work with color and shading and like light and dimension and all that jazz, and then also the color spectrum and anyway.
Just go back and listen to every single thing we've done.
Cold colors and warm colors and all that jazz.
But yeah, the CG looks good. It's not, Pixar, Disney, even DreamWorks good, but this is a TV budget, so what do you expect?
Yeah, and I wasn't like expecting it. It looked really nice. Like, I enjoyed looking at it, but then every now and again the characters would just be so meh.
So yeah.
Like the only character that I like kind of sort of liked was Jade.
Yeah, I like Jade.
Jade's character had some dimension, which is saying something because they're made of rocks and they should have a lot of dimension.
Get out, Mariya. Get out, you're fired. That was a horrible joke.
I was not trying to make a joke. I was trying to do a comparison. Leave me alone.
My big criticism of Land of the Lustrous, I would say its direction is probably the camera work. I noticed was pretty spotty in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're flying it around all over the place in so many shots that don't need it.
They had butt shots, James.
We're not talking about that yet. I'm just talking about how the camera's moving in just general.
Right.
Like they it seemed like they were showing off a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They had some pretty good composited shots where they aren't swinging the camera around, like the characters and the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mesh really well together, surprisingly.
I liked the in the first episode the shot where Cinnabar is inside that cave.
That's a good
and,
one.
Yeah, and like there's like the weird stuff floating around her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is she supposed to be?
She's a cinnabar crystal, which excrete poison.
Oh, the poor thing.
Yes.
Pat. Actually, no.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't touch. It's you'll be poisoned.
Pat with the 6 foot long pole. How about that?
Oh God. Probably my favorite shots were the one of Phos just walking around the island that they're on. And just like all the locales are really well shot with scale.
Right.
And like, yeah, doing all that was great. It's just when the camera starts swinging around all over the place. It's just like, come on, just zooms exist, you know. People don't use zooms enough.
I mean, like I said, it's very visually appealing.
Yes.
It's just when it comes down to story, they messed up bad.
It's not a great adaptation. At least the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't like it's not so bad that I would just be like, no, I can't do this at all. Like
No.
I could watch another couple episodes and give it a couple more to see if it fixes that pacing problem.
I'm sure it does.
Or like at least there's some kind of redeeming quality about it that makes me like there is a fact that it looks really good and that's probably why I'm still wanting to watch a couple more episodes before I make up my mind. But it better have something more than just looking pretty before I decide to invest my emotions into it.
Right. I'm a little concerned though because it goes through like 5 volumes of the manga and 12 episodes.
Oh my god.
Which is a little like
That's disconcerting. It is, yes.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that it's biting off a little more than it can chew with that.
Right.
I think that's probably would be my main criticism if I watched the whole thing is probably that it did too much. But you don't know if you're gonna get a second season, so
I suppose. I mean, but I don't think that's an excuse to compress everything.
No.
Because that might be the reason why you don't get a second season.
Yeah, it's true. Also, a lot doesn't happen in Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
pretty slow. Like it's like not super fast paced or actiony. It's very moody. It's a lot of just shots with no dialogue. A
mm-hmm.
lot of the Another thing is that they didn't really take advantage of their of what the manga did, which it set
Mm-hmm.
it in these locations to have a lot of how do I just describe it? The author, I forget her name, used the blocking really well. I mean, Mariya, you're an artist. Help me here.
I
She,
haven't seen the manga,
I
so
know, but she used light and shadows a lot of the time to like frame the characters.
so like silhouette.
No, 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 no. To when you've got like a character and you've got them blocked in by like a bunch of shadows or like a square using the environment.
A vignette.
No. She used the environment to highlight the characters
Oh, okay.
using framing, blocking, light and shadows
Mm-hmm.
really well.
Okay.
And the anime really doesn't take advantage of that. From what we've
Right.
seen, it might later on,
At least for now, it doesn't seem like it has much. Um,
but I don't. From what we've seen, it didn't do that.
right.
Anyway, do we want to get
Yeah.
onto the problematic elements now?
I mean, to be fair, as compared to most other manga, this wasn't bad. Like, this is pretty good, and this wasn't the biggest complaint that I had about this anime. But it had some pretty weird fan service going.
Not just regular fan service, like fairy tale fan service, from what we
No,
saw.
this was very like they were trying to. It was like they were trying to slide in fan service
Which they were.
covertly, but it was so weirdly done that it's not covert at all. Like it just looks awkward and weird.
It does. Well, the big problem is that the character designs from the manga, they're very non-sexualized for the most part because they don't have breasts, they don't have, you know, they have butts, but they're just butts,
Minimal butts,
minimal
yeah.
butts. So the anime studio was like, where do we put in? We've got cute girls, but we don't have anywhere to put in fan service. We don't have any boobs to jiggle around.
Yeah, the fan service was
It was bizarre.
because I feel like they would put Foss in these weird situations or positions where they would have to focus on the lower body of other characters, because Foss is always either sitting down or kneeling down or like
Yeah,
you know,
they
like
stretched
on all
hard.
four, yeah, on all fours,
Mm-hmm.
and like so that they could focus, or they would do like the low shots
Oh yeah, a
from
lot of low
behind,
shots.
or that just that one scene. So this one scene where one of the doctors is trying to do a durability test apparently on Jade, and so she comes in and she like hits her arm with a mallet, and there's just like a long like sound,
Mm-hmm.
and then she puts Jade on her back, and then she is trying to she is on top of Jade, and she is trying to stretch
Oh,
Jade's
doing
legs
doing a
open.
crab, a Boston
Yes.
crab on her.
Yeah,
I
and
wouldn't
like
call that
trying to.
fan service. That was more of a
That
joke.
was very weird, though.
Well, you don't know what it's a reference to a wrestling move called the Boston Crab.
I know you think that, James.
It
In
is.
my eyes, it does not look like that.
That's what she's doing, though.
I know. That's fair.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fair.
I'm talking about more of the other shots.
Well, yeah, there are other shots for sure.
Like the weird one with Diamond and Foss.
Oh yeah, and like Diamond, God, Foss is just like poking her head from between
Diamond's
Diamond's
legs.
legs, and I was just like,
What? What is going on?
No.
It's just they made their butts so prominent.
I mean, they spent a lot of time. Again, they found a lot of excuses to have those shots where they could put the camera in that position and sneak in.
It's embarrassing.
Fan
It's embarrassing.
Which I'm gonna make something clear because we've done a lot of like anime episodes and I talk about this a lot. But I'm not against fan service. Don't get me wrong. I understand I'm not like from the I wasn't brought up with anime and I don't hold any biases, and I understand that like to most people who watch anime religiously, they've just accepted this to be part of anime, that there's fan service, there's that mandatory mandatory beach episode or mandatory springs episode where everyone's half naked, and you know that's okay, but these characters were not made to be sexualized. It's kind of like how in My Hero they're trying to sexualize high schoolers. Yes, animes are targeted towards a younger audience, but guess who's watching them as well? And that is problematic, to say the least.
It's created a real problematic culture around anime, especially in the West.
Yes, exactly.
Where a lot of these things aren't accepted as
They are
readily
not.
as in Japan.
Yes, they're not, and there's already a lot of sensitive and problematic incidents that have been happening on this side of the globe related to stuff like pedophilia and exploitation of young people.
Oh, yeah.
This does not help.
No, you trying to
At
defend
all.
your lolly porn is not helping.
Yeah. This does not help, and there's a larger conversation to be had about that.
Yeah.
But these characters were not made to be sexualized, is what
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
trying to
big
get at.
thing.
Like, I can understand there's a lot of sexualization that goes on in a lot of anime. This wasn't made to be that. And them trying to force it in makes it weird and uncomfortable and removes the enjoyment from the characters and their interactions and their dialogues, and everything else that's supposed to be good about this particular anime.
Agreed. It's a complete taking the spirit of the manga and her work and just adding in the male gaze into it.
Exactly.
From something that did not exist.
Yeah, exactly. Which is something that, again, I don't think that the production team does this on purpose. Or they do it on purpose because they know that this is what works. This is what has been working for generations. This is what they know will work. It's kind of like how like we were watching the other day, those like food ads that are highly sexualized. Advertisers know that is what grabs the eyes, and so they do that. When it comes to anime, animators, at least at some essence of them, know that that's what sells.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will force it into something that is not made for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Which will ruin it entirely. Which also comes down to the point where the author of this anime is a female.
Manga.
And we did our
the author of the anime is men.
The manga is a female.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire production team most of the production team of this anime is male, is solely male. And so usually when there's a full male production team, we end up with some kinds of biases that may not be intentional, but are there. And James kind of alluded to it a little bit. The concept of male gaze, which is essentially started off as a film critique by a Laura Mulvey, who is a film critic, and she coined this term, which essentially it comes in 3 parts. The male gaze is the man behind the character, behind the camera. So the person who's moving the camera, it generally is showing the perspective of a heterosexual male. To be more specific, a heterosexual white male, but that's more like Hollywood media type. Then and the second is the male characters within the show or the film or whatever you're watching, and then the gaze of the spectator, the audience, who is also assumed to be heterosexual males, and generally the women are seen as things to look at, and that's what butt shots are. Like, there's no subject in this. There's no person that's the subject in those shots. It's just their butt. It's just that's all that there is about them. It's their butt. So you kind of strip these characters of their identity and sort of just narrow it down to that physical aspect that has been hypersexualized in media extensively. And it feels wrong in an anime in which these people aren't even supposed to have anything to be sexualized about them. There's no sexual aspect, angle, dimension to this anime.
Mm-mm.
It's about gemstone people being plucked off a planet because they look pretty to Lunarians, is what this is about. That's it. That's it. That's all that there is here. So stop putting butt shots in it.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. They are not only unnecessary, they are distracting.
Yeah, they pull away from them, from a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Oh, it's just a dumb idea, and it definitely stems from a all male production cast or production studio, with no women there to say, "Hey, this is dumb." It's stupid.
It's like, you don't need that. It also takes a lot of, it takes time and effort and resources to make those frames. Like, you could be using that time, effort, and resources to some other aspect that enriches this anime. And I'm not against fan service. It's great.
No.
It's fine. It's just
it has its place.
It has its place
time.
again. Yeah. It has its place with adult characters and adult human characters that have sexualized needs, whatever it is. My point is that there's a place for them, and you can't just shove them anywhere just because you want fan service. That's not how this works. That's just silly.
It's also
and
kind of
very
insulting
immature
to the audience.
It is.
To think that, you know, you won't like these characters unless some aspect of them is sexualized.
Which again is mostly done to female characters, right? It's like there's nothing about their personality that's going to attract you other than their physical bodies, you know? Which is not to say that's not done to the male characters as well. That's done to them too.
But I mean, there's like the amount of that done by a women production studio. You can count that on a hand.
Yeah,
compared
exactly.
to the wave of
there's a and that's what's it's demeaning to the character, and then it's demeaning to the audience as well, to say that of course you won't like them unless we put big boobs on them or we give them a good butt. Like, right. You won't like them if they don't have abs and they're not muscly. Now, in a sort of, like, for example, I use My Hero Academia mostly because I've seen it. But, like, you see people are muscular in that sort of realm because they're working out and they have to fight and stuff like that. So it's understandable. But when it comes to, like, I don't know, super thin bodies everywhere, and then women always wearing bikini outfits for no reason other than they're wearing bikini outfits all the time, all of them, is when it's like, that's no.
It's a bad environment.
And it's hard to bring change when the whole community or a good chunk of the community will push back against it. Heavily push back against it. They just accept the fact that this is what anime is, and I think that anime can be better.
It can. And there are many series that show that you don't need fan service. Full Metal Alchemist. Mm-hmm. I don't remember any fan service really in that. I guess Lust. I
don't either. But that made sense. Like, again, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not against fan service.
Yeah.
And I just think that it has a place. It has its place, and it should be done. I can't believe I'm saying this. It should be done tastefully.
Yes, it should be done tastefully.
As oxymoronic as that sounds.
I don't think it's oxymoronic.
It should be done tastefully. Like, as much as I would like Colonel Mustang's shirt flying off every now and again, if his shirt flew off every time he came onto the screen, I would be annoyed.
Yeah.
Because that's not what his character is about.
Exactly.
He's not a cool character because he takes his clothes off.
Right.
He's a cool character because he's a badass. Similarly, Hawkeye is a cool character because she's a badass, not because she has boobs.
Yep. Agreed.
And Full Metal Alchemist is a good example because it does a lot of things very well. And it keeps the characters personalities separate from their bodies, essentially. That came out as a pun, but that's not what I meant, you guys. Anyway.
I'm trying to think of a show that does fan service well. That isn't, I don't know. Probably just a show that was just made to be fan service. Because that's,
which one?
I don't know. Pick one. There's many of them.
There's many of them.
But it's a show. It's made to be this. It's not something else with fan service jammed into it.
Yeah. I mean, when you walk into a show, like, for example, you read the manga, so you walked into it thinking of it as like this wholesome sort of anime, but then you got something totally different. But if you read a manga which you knew was all about fan service, and you watched the anime and you saw fan service, it's like, well, yeah, that was in the manga. What was I expecting? And that's where it sort of gets skewed. If an anime is sort of portrayed to be that just fan service, it's like, okay, well, that's what I signed up for, I guess, when you open it up. But for this one, it's kind of like they try to sneak it in, kind of like how my mom failed to sneak eggplant onto pizza.
What?
And
it's
a joke. Never mind. It's a joke. Never mind. But never actually succeeded at it because I found out there was eggplant on it. Anyway,
because it's eggplant. What else would it be?
I mean, it's not like she put like okay, you know what? Let's not get into the specifics of this.
Okay. I think we've made our point, Mariya.
Yes. We're just beating around the bush at this point.
Around.
Yes.
Final thoughts?
I want to like the show. It's very nice to look at. I want to like it so that I can actually want to watch it. But I don't know if it's going to live up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me a little sad.
It has a good style. It does CG really well.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is kind of lacking.
Yes. I agree with that.
And I'm unfortunately not a person who can enjoy style over substance.
Right.
It'd have to be really good for me to enjoy something without having a cohesive story.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you give it, Mariya? On our rating scale of fingers.
Like, 1.5? 2? 1.5 or 2?
Well, pick one.
I'm generous, so 1.5. No, that would be
That's
2.
less
Never
than
mind.
2, Mariya.
I mean, sorry, I'm a little sleepy right now. 2, yes.
2 fingers? All right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about what I would give it to.
Mm-hmm.
It is a really pretty show. It's just these 2 episodes just didn't really click.
Yeah, again, like, I want to like the show because its art style is very nice and pretty to look at. But if the story is not going to hold up, then it's going to be like, I'll watch a couple more maybe, and then I'll just be like, I can't. No.
Mm-hmm. Disappointing. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it.
We'll see you guys next time.
What are we watching next time, Mariya?
Why do you always ask me this question, James? I don't have the calendar. You're the one who picks the anime.
Because it's funny.
What are we watching, James?
We are watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, God, yes, that's what we're watching.
The first 3 episodes.
Watching 3 episodes? Okay.
Of the Phantom Blood.
God.
Start working out and just have massive, impossible pecs.
Okay, James. I only seen like 2 episodes. So
Then you know what I'm talking about.
do I?
I don't know.
No. I mean, we'll talk about this next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about this next time. Yep. All right. See ya.
Good night. Hey, James.
What?
Did you hear?
What?
Satan's opening his new theater in hell.
That's where we live.
And our listeners can join us for just $1.
That costs less than the Netflix subscription I steal.
So head over to patreon.com/chaoticsilly to join us for our exclusive podcast, Movie Night in Hell.
It's like Hell in a Cell, but with movies.
So join us for our screening of Lou Over the Wall in Hell.
Bring popcorn. No free refills.